All right, so here we go. 1.4 notes. The goal is to create equations in one variable and use them to solve problems and solve equation for any given variable. Number one, the length of a rectangle is 3 times the width. The perimeter is 96 centimeters. Find the length and width. How would you begin this problem? Anybody? Logan?
Actually, you want to find the length first.
Okay.
I'm thinking like L equals 3W.
Good. So that's a great way to start. It says, and this is kind of like what we talked about yesterday on the back of your notes where you had that translation column of things that are said in English and how they translate into math. The length of a rectangle is, that means equals, 3 times, obviously means multiply, the width. We make that into a variable W. So now we have an expression for the length. Any other thoughts on what to do next? We're going to need the formula for perimeter. Does anyone remember the formula for perimeter of a rectangle? I'm going to draw a little rectangle here. I'm going to label 3W and W. Perimeter. What is perimeter? Yes. We add up all the sides, right? No matter what the shape of the polygon, we just add up all the sides. So we can do, since the lengths are the same and the widths are the same in a rectangle, we just do 2L plus 2W, or 2 times the length plus the width. Now is when I need to go to my notebook paper since I'm running out of room. So I'm going to do 1.4 notes. Page 1, number 1. I'm going to choose the second formula. I think it is a little bit simpler for our purposes on these questions. So with the length, I came up with that different equation for length, so I'm going to plug that in. And then I'm going to plug in my 96 for P. So 96 equals 2 times, remember, L is 3W, plus the width, W. Now I have an algebraic equation, and I can solve. Yep, I've got open seats up here if you want. Now, to solve, I simplify what's in the parentheses first. 3W plus W is 4W. Then I just multiply, so 2 times 4W is 8W. Divide both sides by 8. 96 divided by 8 is 12. We're still working on our multiplication facts. We're going to get those down. It's 12. It's one of the 12's facts. So width is 12, and then we can use that expression that we came up with, Logan came up with at the very beginning, L equals 3W, and just plug in the 12 for W, and I get 36. Number 1, done. Number 2. So look at this one. Let's just do it all in notebook paper, keep it all in one spot. So for number 2, it says the length of a rectangle is 5 meters greater than the width. Somebody give me an algebraic equation for length for this problem. So on your paper, reading number 2, this first sentence we could translate into,
W plus 5.
okay, where's the equal sign?
Oh, L equals.
Good, you got it. Now I know the length. Is W plus 5, and the width is W. It says the perimeter is 150, so I'm going to put in 150 equals 2 times the length, which is W plus 5, plus the width. Some people are getting thrown off by that because we have two W's in there, right? Well, that's just because of the way that the problem relates the length to the width. Having one variable in one equation allows us to solve for that variable. So now I simplify. W plus W is 2W. Then I could distribute, or I could divide both sides by 2 at this point. Should we just divide? Let's divide. So let's just divide both sides by 2. So 75 equals 2W plus 5. If you feel more comfortable distributing, you can do that. We're going to get the same answer if we do it. All right. Subtract the 5. 70 equals 2W. Divide by 2. W equals 35. And then we come back to this L equals W plus 5, plugging in our 35 for W, and we get L equals 40. Like I said, we're just doing 3 on the front, so this is question number 3, last one. Try and write an expression for that first sentence, an algebraic equation, I should say. Write an algebraic equation that represents that first sentence for number 3. Odyssey? Perfect. The width of the rectangle, W, is 12 centimeters less than the length. Perfect. Same formula. What's our perimeter this time? 156. So we're going to fill in. Substitute the values we know into the formula. 156 equals 2 times length plus width, where the width is the L minus 12. And then we solve from there. Similar to solving that last one, we combine like terms inside the parentheses, so we get 2L minus 12. Let's do divide by 2. So 156 divided by 2.
73.
78.
78, good. And then we've got the 2L minus 12 left. Add 12 to both sides. So then we have 90 equals 2L divided by 2. And we get L equals 45. And then we just plug that in. W equals 45 minus 12, which is 33. So now when you see these problems, you can go, oh, that's not that bad. For some of you, drawing this little rectangle when you come to one of these problems helps get the wheel spinning. So just do something. So you could have labeled this, okay, we know the width is L minus 12, the length is L. It's not required, it's not necessary, but sometimes, like I said, it just helps get things rolling. Flip it over. So this is 1.4 notes, page 2. I'm going to put this in my binder. I actually stapled this to the top sheet and put it in my binder, so don't get confused. So we're going to do question number 1, which says solve for R D equals R times T. Who remembers what dr and T stand for in this equation? Raise your hand if you know. Raise your hand if you know.
I know two of them.
What?
I know diameter and radius.
Oh, those would be two that would be found together, but in this case, they aren't diameter and radius. D equals R times T. Guesses, anybody? Yes, good. That is what it is. Distance equals rate times time. So when we're solving for R, it's like R, rate, speed. When you see speed limit signs on the highway, you will see them with miles per hour. We're about to see how that looks. To solve for R, we divide both sides by T, and that's it. So we end up with R equals D over T. And when you see that as a problem on Math Excel, it'll be written as R equals blank. In the blank, you need to put the D over T. So I think that is fairly obvious, right? So distance, miles per hour, time. That's how you see that. Number 2. Capital P equals 144 lowercase p over y. And this time we're solving for lowercase p, so it's important that you are careful with uppercase letters versus lowercase letters. Starting off this one, we multiply both sides by y, and we wind up with py equals 144 lowercase p last step, divide by 144. So we have lowercase p equals py over 144, or you can write that as lowercase p equals py over 144. Now it looks kind of funny. Your answers for these problems look kind of funny. It's not all that common that we see all these letters in our answers. So you just kind of have to get used to that. Question number 3, solve for R. So this time we're solving for capital C. Capital R equals CS over D. Go ahead and try this one out. It's a very similar process to what we did in the last problem. Step 1, multiply both sides by D. That way these cancel out, and I have R, D equals CS. Again, to get capital C by itself, I divide both sides by capital S. And I wind up with C equals RD over S. Did anybody get that? Raise your hand if you got it. Okay, awesome. I'll do one more. I'll let you choose. This will be kind of like the bonus question.
Let's do 44.
I heard 44 first. So you can watch, or you can watch and write. But this is not a question I will expect that you can do, but it might show up as something like an extra credit question on a test. Not this exact same one, but a challenge question. So this one says solve A equals 2 pi, ready, 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh, solve for pi. Now that should look familiar. What is that?
3.14.
This is the formula for the surface area of a cylinder. Geometry. Okay, so we're solving for pi. I need to get pi by itself. So since both of my terms have pi in it, I'm going to start by factoring out pi. Actually, only one more step to get pi by itself. Divide both sides by 2r squared plus 2rh. And that all cancels out. So pi equals the area over 2r squared plus 2rh. There you go. All right, that's our notes for today.